Good morning, teachers. We'll be starting in another 7 minutes. In the meantime, I would just request you to please bring along a pencil and a paper so you can just jot down anything important that ma'am would be sharing with you.
Good morning, everybody. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Is that Tanu?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I request each and everyone, please mute
The
your phones.
volume needs to go up. 1 second, please. I can hardly hear anybody. Yes. All right. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you're audible.
Tanu, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. So just give me a couple of seconds. And the screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am,
It
the
is
screen
visible.
is also visible.
Right. Okay. So we start off today's session. What time is it? 11:07. So we are kind of on time. And so we have kids out here. And I am Ishita Mukherjee. And we are presenting today a talk, or I would say a session on competency-based education. I think the participants have been muted, and I'm going to ask Tanu to, help me with this, because I might miss out some things written on the chat box. It becomes a bit difficult to, concentrate on both. So what I would like you to do is use the chat box for writing your answers. Forget about punctuation, correct English, and all that. Doesn't matter. We are not having an English session out here. Okay, just answer spontaneously. Is that okay? Can I see some thumbs up or something in the chat box that you've understood? Yeah, I can see that is Subhashri ma'am, Asiya ma'am. Okay, lots of thumbs up coming up. Great. So I'm going to start off with competency-based education. That's our topic today. So my first question to you would be, how many of you are aware of competency-based education? You can show by writing Y, that is yes, or thumbs up. How many of you are aware? That is very honest of Jacqueline, ma'am. I don't know, it's Jacqueline or Jacqueline. Okay, that's Atharv, sir. Is it ma'am? Says yes. All right, I can see thumbs up from somebody who's Samsung. All right, I'm sure that's not the name. Girija ma'am says, yes, that's wonderful. That's quite a few people who are aware of competency-based education. So we are just going to, have a quick view for the people who may be not as proficient with this. So here comes, what is competency-based education? It is something which develops students through hands-on practice, mainly real world application. Today I'll be taking up quite a few, which I hope you will find real world applications. And there are specific skills. What are they? Reading, writing, numeracy, the overall literacy progression. Okay, these are the basic foundational steps and on which we build on. So for Tanu, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tanu, this thing keeps on coming. Can you mute it, that recording on progress? It keeps
Okay, ma'am.
on.
I'll.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you could just mute that. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay.
All right. So we have, which are both taught and intuited through repeated situational exposure. It is not just stuck. Mathematics, in fact, I would say a lot of our education is between the covers of the textbook. They sometimes have very little to do with real life. The situations which are presented are not real life. How many of you would agree with that? As usual, please use the chat box, that the kind of, here we are all maths teachers. So if you think the kind of mathematics that we are doing, that it is, very few. How many of you have heard from students saying, ma'am or sir, where are we going to use this? Why do we need to use this? Have you heard that? I can see yes. Yeah, great. So we are all in the same boat. So we need to make our teaching, what we do, with lifelike situations so that children themselves understand this is where we need it, or this is something I have done, I am doing, or I have seen my parents doing, so I will have to also go through it. What does competency-based education do? Okay, it is not how different it is from traditional thing. Is this depends on learners' competency and flexibility. Okay, now let me give you a very small example, which I will be taking up in detail. As to, if I were to suppose add 39 plus 49. Well, I could do the usual way of carryover, regrouping. But don't you think I could also do it 30 plus 40, 17, 9 and 9, 18. Okay, so 70 plus 18, 88. What have I done? This flexibility. I could do, okay, 39 and 49, which means 40 and 50. 90, दो minus कर देते हैं. So it becomes 88. All right. So what is happening? I have the competency not just adding in one way, but the flexibility to use numbers in whichever way I please. Would you agree that this is competency, not just 39 plus 49 isko, carry over karke, one karke. Just imagine instead of 2 digit, agar ye 4 digit number hota.
Ma'am, this is a system generated voice, so we cannot mute it.
Is it possible to lower the thing? Oh, all right. Forget it. I'll just deal with it. Okay.
Okay, ma'am, okay.
All right. So this is what we mean, that when you are competent in any kind of subject, let's take a very simple example. Let's say cooking. All right. I don't know how many males are here, but I definitely know that after the COVID situation, I saw a lot of males, and that wonderfully so, started cooking, like, helping, or they enjoyed cooking. So I would assume a lot of people, women and men here, are used to cooking. Yes or no? Why for yes and for no? I want the answers from male. Male participants here, do you have idea of cooking? I can see one yes. What about the others? Sare chup ho gaye? Yes. Or 2 yeses aa gaye. All right, great. I'm sure और भी आएंगे. Okay. Not in my house. All right. But anyway, so the example I was talking about, that sometimes when we are cooking, and we realize, oh, अरे आमचूर नहीं है. आमचूर नहीं है, क्या डालना है? ठीक है, आंवला डाल देते हैं, अनारदाना डाल देते हैं, कुछ और दे देते हैं, विनेगर नहीं है, नींबू देते हैं. What happens? What have you understood? You have understood that the concept, you need khatta. But since you do not have that specific thing, you can apply that concept to be flexible and not get stuck. Am I making myself clear? Does this example match? Can I have the answers in the chat box? Yes, Deepika ma'am says yes. Yeah, I can see other yes. Okay, so this is what we mean, that learners' competency, flexibility, and therefore overall the ingraining new skill. So there is one phrase, if you wish, you can write it down. What we want our students to do is to be able to learn how to learn. Okay, they should think of it this way. 25, 30, 40 years down the line, we will not be around. We will not know what the world is going to look like for our students, our children. How do we prepare them? Because we do not know what's going to happen. They will have to learn. They will, like when COVID happened, we couldn't ask, we didn't have any experience, we didn't have anything to fall back. We learned. People who could learn to learn, they survived. They did. The one who couldn't change, well, they fell back. So therefore, what we learn from this is our students will be dealing with the future, which a lot of us will not see, we cannot imagine. And hence, competency teaches you how to learn to learn. When new things come, how flexible are you to adapt to this thing? Okay, so just a sec. Why has it suddenly got stuck? The problems with, I guess, yeah, all right, thank God. So skill education, competency, skills, fosters a mindset of continuous learning. All right, tell me, do you think learning ever stops? Chat box, please. Learning ever stops? Correct. Because if learning stopped, then you people would not be here today on a Saturday morning and, attending this webinar, because you are here because you feel, even though you are teachers, you are teaching, you are adults, professional, but you wish to learn. So learning never stops. Some people may stop learning, that's their choice, but learning by itself never stops. And this is what we need to inculcate in our students, that you have to keep on learning so that you can stay ahead of the curve and, most of all, stay relevant to the future needs, evolving future needs. All right. Now, this is a word I'm sure all of you are familiar with because teachers here, learning outcomes. This is where the biggest difference comes in the competency-based education and the traditional method of education. As you can see, the traditional based was most on memorization, and the goal was passing test. It still remains so, a lot of it, and which is what we need to see. We should have education for the sake of education, for the sake of learning, love of learning, not just to get marks, get a degree, and khatam, forgotten what we have studied. All right. In competency-based learning, what happens? The focus is placed on deep understanding so that it is lifelong learning. And since it is lifelong learning, you are equipped to deal with future. You can use that. Okay, it's not just rote memorization. So I'll quickly put up a few differences, traditional teaching versus competency-based learning. And if you wish, at the end of the slide, you can take a screen grab or, whatever is suitable for you. So now here, do you see the first difference? Okay, Nimita ma'am has a question, I think. Tanu, can you just see or unmute her?
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah. Yes, Nimita ma'am, you have a question?
Ma'am, I think it is by mistake or something because the hand raise is from the beginning of the session.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, fine. No
So,
problem. No
Ma'am,
problem.
if
It
you have any
happens.
query, you can just post it in the chat box or you can raise your hand. We'll just unmute you and you can ask your question from ma'am.
Yeah. Or you can put it in the chat box and Tanu will read it out to me.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Sure.
fine. So either way, Tanu, whichever you think that works, I leave that to you. Okay.
Ma'am, sure. Yeah.
So coming back to this, as you can see that the traditional teaching, you have, it is kind of age related. In when a child is 6 years old, goes to class 1, next year 2, and so on. At 17 plus, you go appear for class 12 board exams, so on, so forth. Now you might have, and here I would like your answers in the chat box, that you might have a student who is sitting in class 9th or maybe class 8th, who does not have mastery over fractions, which is started in class 4th. Does this happen with you? That you have students in your class, maybe in class 8th or 9th, even, further, but who do not know fractions, which is taught in primary classes. Okay, I can see yes. So what has happened? The student has passed 7 to 8, 8 to 9, but the competency, which is, can you imagine, if the child does not know fractions, is there any point teaching that child rational numbers? What do you people say as teachers? Is it possible? No. Okay. Fractions agar nahi aate, uske upar we are bringing in negative, positive signs and all these kind of things. How do we expect? So unless you have competency in dealing with fractions, we cannot progress to rational numbers. But what happens? because of our passing system, it keeps on, the child keeps on going ahead without having learned. And one thing, I think all of you will agree as mathematics teachers, that mathematics is a cumulative subject. That means it builds on itself. If you have gaps, then it is very difficult to climb up the steps of, you'll fall through the gap. Do you agree with that statement of mine? That unless your foundation, your steps, you can't take a helicopter to the top for mathematics. You have to climb up the steps. And if any step is missing, you will just fall through the gap and it is very difficult to clamber up. I'm not saying impossible. There are a lot of things possible in the world, but I'm saying very difficult. And especially for teachers, because teachers have limited amount of time with the students. So it becomes all the more difficult. Now, in competency-based learning, as you can see, the child progresses only after they have mastered a certain skill required for the next level. Second thing, learning, what I told you just now, that the learning goals are centered around a student's age. 6 साल में ये आना चाहिए, 10 साल में ये आना चाहिए, 17 साल में बोर्ड पास करना चाहिए. Why? Does life work like that? I'm sure a lot of you here are parents. क्या हम बोल सकते हैं कि हर बच्चे का दांत, पहला दांत 4 महीने में निकल जाना चाहिए? Can we say that? हर बच्चे को 9 महीने में चलना चाहिए? नहीं. किसी बच्चे के 4 महीने में दांत निकल आते हैं, किसी बच्चे का 1 साल बाद दांत निकलता है. Right? Oh, okay. You want me to converse only in English? Fine. I will do that. Is that all right with everybody? Is everybody comfortable with me speaking only in English? All right, I can say, yes, fine, I will stick to English in that case. So my point, the point I was making, that like when we talk about milestones for children, all right, infants, that some children, some kids, maybe grow their first tooth at the age of 4 or 5 months. Okay, some children grow it after a year, the first tooth appears. Now, can we relate this to age? No. The milestones are different for different people. So when it comes to these kind of things, why do we make it age-centered when it is about education? Is that fair? There are some children who may be wonderful in geometry, but are not very proficient in, say, fractions. Or some children understand commercial mathematics very easily, but are not good with abstract things. But that doesn't mean that just because the child does not understand it at 11 years of age, that means the child is a failure. No. So therefore, competency-based, it's about students' need. One student might need help with geometry. Somebody might need more help with algebra. We cannot put an age thing to this, but this age, the child should know this. Next one. What happens? Assessment is mostly summative, okay, with the same thing for all students. Everybody appearing for the same questions. It is not very inclusive. Whereas assessment in competency-based is throughout and may look different for each student. I know it might sound like utopia. How is this possible? This is possible because the assessment is more formative. You are giving a child a lot of chances to do it. So somebody who cannot probably explain it verbally can maybe put up a PPT explaining those things. Somebody can maybe make a picture, a graphical representation of that. We are going to come to communication once we, go into competency-based, what are the competencies. Learning outcome mainly consists of memorization and comprehension of what? Just the content, which I said is between the covers of the textbook, nothing beyond. Whereas out here, it is different. It's of deep understanding and application of that content to the world around, to new situation. It's not a textbook, you open the textbook, exercise number so and so, these are the 4 questions there. I know how to do it, so therefore I know this. No, that's not education. Education is for you to go and, deal with life, which may not be there between the covers of textbook, but it guides you towards it, and you have to use it for further development. How is the student's performance graded? It is always through test. I say this thing, you might sometimes find neighbors or some people who never even stop to say hello to you when they meet you, like on the road or the lift or anywhere. But suddenly you will find them saying during the board exam, oh, did your child this time appear for board exam? Why? They are interested in marks and grades. Am I correct? Relatives who haven't spoken to you for years suddenly give you a call. Oh, didn't your child, appear for board exams this time? Everything is about marks and grades. Whereas here in competency, it is determined by individual growth and mastery. Are we clear about this? Any questions? Tanu, if there are any questions, do let me know, huh? I'm moving on to my next slide.
Sure, ma'am. I'll update you.
Okay, thank you. So now we come to the mathematical competencies. All right. As you can see, I have put in out here 5 competencies. Well, actually, there are 6, which is about the use of tools and technology. I did not put it out here because I will not be discussing. It is a bit difficult to discuss it, although we are actually using it. We are through technology, we are talking to each other, we are learning together. But the various tools, because it needs to be hands-on and it might be difficult. So I'm going to concentrate on these 5 that you see on the screen: mathematizing, representation, reasoning and argument, mathematical communication, and strategic thinking. All right. These are the 5 competencies I'll be discussing with examples. So now these might seem like, what are these words? What do they mean? So first, I'm going to go to the definition of each thing, of each competency. What does it mean? And then I will move on to giving you examples. Is that okay with everybody? All right. I can see one okay from Subhashri ma'am. What about the others? Is that all right? Great. I think answers are coming up. Fine. So let's go to the competencies one by one. So the first one, as you remember, was mathematizing. It says transform a real world problem into a mathematical problem. Interpret mathematical objects or information in relation to the situation represented. Okay. So again, this might sound like a word salad to you, that what does it really mean? I would like you to hang on for a couple of minutes when I start showing you the examples. As to first, I'll give you all the 5 definitions, so you can take a screen grab or write it down, whatever you wish. And that reminds me, I think Tanu might have already announced, but let me also, please have some paper and pencil to scribble on. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to solve trigonometric things and differential equations or nothing of that sort, but very simple logic and things, just to give examples. All right, so that was the first one, which is mathematizing. The second one, representation. Now look here, when I spoke about having different ways of formative, can you see how a child can represent their answers by using mathematical objects? They could be concrete objects, relationships like what? Equations, formulae, graph, tables, diagram, textual description. So do you realize a child can give you a textual description as in write the answer? It could be something verbal. A child can show it to you by diagram, by a table, by graph, writing the correct formula. There are so many ways of representing the answer. If we get stuck on just one method ki aapko you have to answer only in this specific way, then it becomes a problem because all children are different. All right. So therefore, we need to have these kind of things that the student, and of course, I do understand that in summative exam, you can't have this, right? Summative, you will have one paper. Maximum, you might have two papers, but even they would be very similar. Where can you use this? Formative. Lots of formative, because formative is something which not only diagnoses the student's ability for you, it also diagnoses your own ability as to are you getting through to the child? It diagnoses what went right with your teaching, what did not go. Okay, this activity worked, this question worked, the other one most of the students did not understand. I have to try something different. Am I correct in this? Do you think formatives help this way? Yep. And also, do you realize one thing? Formatives can be very simple for you can even have, let me tell you something. Suppose a class is doing group work. You've given a task and you have divided your class in 8, 9, 10 groups according to your class 10. And the children, if it's an interesting task or something, if it's going good, you will see children intently doing that. Take a photograph. That's your assessment. That is your evidence that everybody it's not that, somebody is yawning, somebody is doing something. Even that is formative assessment. It shows you that, okay, this task was very interesting. Children were doing it because everybody is busy doing it. Okay. So that is why do not always think that assessments have something to do with paper, pencil, grades, marks, red pen, cross, tick mark. No. All right. We have to get out of that thing. Next, we have, sometimes I don't know why this is getting stuck here. All right. Reasoning and argument. Well, but obvious. Here we are talking about mathematics. We have to give logically rooted thought process, and the argument, in other words, you can also call it justification. If I give an answer, I should be able to justify it, that why I think so. See, we do it quite regularly in geometry where we give reason, but it is not restricted to that. We need to do it for each of the topic. Mathematics is a logical subject. It progresses on itself that I am saying this because it is equal to this, or because this implies so, or therefore it is so. So there are no assumption-based thing that I look at a figure, oh, this looks like square, so I will assume the angles of this quadrilateral to be 90 degrees. Sorry, that doesn't happen. This point is looking as if, it seems to be in the middle of the triangle. I will take it to be midpoint. No, sorry, that doesn't happen. It can only happen if you have been told that, if it is given so. Is that correct? Would you agree as maths teacher? Can we just assume just because, you know, a box looks like a square, can we take it as a square? Okay, I'm a bit confused about no and yeah. No means can we take it as square? Yes. Or can we take it as square? No, just because it looks like a square. The figure does not have anything given. It just has a, figure without any information. And we assume it to be square because it looks like one. So therefore, yeah, exactly. We can't take it unless. So there are everything in mathematics you have to justify. If you say it's a square, please justify how it is a square. Have you been given the information that it's a square, that all the sides are equal and all four angles are 90 degree? If you have it, justify it. Next one, strategic thinking. Selecting or devising, implementing mathematical strategy. The one which I was talking about, flexibility and strategy, that how would you do it? Just because you know addition, does the same thing work same way? Or can you strategize that if I do it this way, it works better? That flexibility is strategizing, strategic thinking. Okay, the flexibility, as I gave the example of cooking. Okay, I do not have this ingredient, so I will use this strategy. I need this. I want to make it taste a bit sour. I don't, so I'll use this strategy and make it sour. Why? Because the concept is clear that this needs to be sour. If I don't have this, what other things can I use? Okay. And lastly, which actually takes in everything, communication. Mathematical communication. Now you can see it is there in two parts. The first part, it says incoming. Now, before I go further, how many of you teachers, Tanu, how many participants are here as of now?
There are 63 participants and almost 30 people on YouTube with us. So we
Okay, so
have
we have
some
about
very.
100 people.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I ask you people, there are about 100 of us here, maths teachers. How many of you would agree if I say that let's take, say, middle school? Or let's take, say, fourth onwards, 4 to 10. I mean, this, of course, goes on my question. You will see that goes on beyond school level also. But being school teachers here, I'm just taking this level, say, 4th to 10th. How many of you find that your average students, please remember, I'm not talking about your very bright ones or, say, any students who have, say, some kind of learning disability. Your average students, if you give them a direct question like add this or solve this pair of linear equation or solve this quadratic thing, they can do it mainly. But the moment the same very question, you give it as a word problem, they get stuck. How many of you agree? Please put Y or N in the chat box. There. As teachers, all of us realize this problem, correct? So now you look at this. Communication incoming means what? Because what is happening? Comprehension problem, which is incoming. Reading, decoding, interpreting statements. What is happening? As they are reading the question, they are unable to decode what information is given, what mathematical information is given, how to interpret that. Okay, so the incoming communication is getting stuck. Now there is the other part, outgoing. Now, once if your incoming communication gets stuck, How will there be outgoing? Only when you understand incoming, that what am I being asked? What is the information that I have? What tools am I going to use? What strategy I'm going to use? Then only can you explain and present, yes or no, and justify, argue. So if your incoming is not happening, how can there be outgoing? Yeah. So therefore, do you also realize that communication and representation actually go very much hand in hand? A child maybe understands the incoming part, can understand, interpret statement, but maybe the explaining part may not be able to do verbally or textually. The child represents that using a graph, using a diagram. Is that child wrong? Does that mean that the child does not understand what you are teaching? No, the child does, except the child's communication to you is in a different way from the others. Okay, this is what your competency-based education allows you. That it does not have to be, and when can it happen? It cannot happen in summative exams because it is just one thing, straitjacket tool devised for everybody. But in formative, you can understand the child's thing. Okay, so the child is not very good at presenting verbal arguments, or maybe writing is slow or something, but the child can show it through a diagram or a graph or a PPT or whatever, which gives you the knowledge, the feedback that yes, this child has understood. The concept is clear to the child. Okay. Yes, I do get that, Namrata ma'am. Can we will have after this about 15-20 minutes of question answer session. Tanu, will you keep that in mind and remind this? Because I would like to, because this is a very important question which Namrata ma'am has asked, and I would like to answer it. At the moment, I just want to go through this, but please keep this in mind. Is that
Sure,
all
ma'am.
right, Tanu?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Namrata ma'am, be assured I will come back to this question because that is a very important question that you asked. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to, I've given you the definitions, but again, sometimes it looks like word salad. And as we see that real life situations, so similarly here, I need to give you examples so that it is clear. So what I have done, because we have various kinds of audience out here, like teaching different classes. So I have taken different kinds of question. I mean, catering to different age levels wherever possible. So it is not customized to a particular grade level. So these are basically ideas for you to understand, which you can customize for yourself. Okay. Just a second, please. I forgot to switch on my charger. All right. So here we go. So we are going to first start with mathematization, which is transforming a real world problem into a mathematical problem. Firstly, look at this picture. Is this picture something which is familiar? Ghar ghar mein hota hai. Child sitting in front of the TV, having a remote or something. If you show this picture to a child, will the child, most of the children I'm talking about, because you see, India is a very diverse country. So we have people who may not even get one meal a day. So in that case, this would be a dream. But I'm just talking about, say average or something. So is this something we are used to, seeing these kind of pictures, or at home, a child in front of the TV? Yes or no in the chat box, please. All right. Okay, fine. Now I will give you what this. Okay, before that, let me ask, all of you are adults out here. Do any of you play video games? You know, there are various kind. I mean, I have never though played, but I used to get all those invitations for Candy Crush. Then there was a Farmville or something, and they would have levels and stuff. Do you remember them? And lot of even our friends, bacche to kehte, children would play, but even I love Candy Crush. Oh my God. That's so sweet, Shivasri ma'am. Okay, so therefore, now comes this question. Vicky got a new video game. She scored 3 points on first level, 5 points on the second level, and then as you can see, it is there on the screen. All right. My first question is it a realistic question? Will children, whichever grade it is meant for, what I'm saying, will they relate to this situation? Okay, I can see one yes, ma'am, from Esida. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it as correct. Okay. Yes, because we see a lot of kids doing it. And now for the answer, who would like to give me the answer? Aha, Vahini ma'am, is it? Here comes the answer. If you now please remember, if you've got it correct, you have to put a smiley. I will see how many smileys come in the chat box. You don't have to write the answer here. I'm going to show you the answer. You have to put smileys if you've got it correct. Now I want to see smileys. Ah, there. Okay. Wonderful. So I will take a few more. Oh, I have Anushka ma'am winking. That's a cute one. All right. Now I'm going to take one or two more questions of mathematization. This was next one. In fact, this is a question I picked up, from the KIPS book itself, in the sense like, I just added a bit more here, that it's a very common question. Now, a lot of school, which probably maybe your school does too, do you have any kind of nowadays, because of, environmental knowledge and green environment, all this, a lot of schools have gardening clubs and all these. Anybody here whose school has these, they teach children gardening, it is given as a hobby class or something? Any schools here? You can put yes, that you have something similar for children, where sometimes children, are given a patch, maybe as a section wise or a group wise, and they grow something. Any yes or no answers in the chat box? Okay, I see a lot of no's. Okay, I'm based in Delhi, so I see it a lot out here. In fact, the school I used to work in, we had a gardening club. Like you have various club activities like theater club, drama club, music club, all this. So there was a gardening club also. All right. And now, of course, CBSE is, you must be aware of green schools and how they are promoting environment consciousness. A lot of schools are going into this. So let's take this as one of those kind of schools. All right. And what is the question here? Acha, firstly, what do you see on the screen? Can you make out? We have a square, because one side that is 40 meter, and we have a rectangle because the length and breadth both are given. Yes, correct. A square and a rectangle. I think a lot of you can already guess at the question. So here's a school which has Grow Your Garden project. Arjun and Sanya were heading the project. project, they were shown two plots, a square one and a rectangular one. as you can
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, lastly, you have said about the information in mathematical question is highly required. Here, the pictorial representation, the left one, you are assumed as square, but the data of one side is given as
That-
40 meter.
That is, sir, because I think mathematically we understand when one side is given, all right,
Yeah.
it means all four sides are equal. All right. Plus, I had just
So
shown you the picture.
consider while giving answer, a student has tried to draw one square and it is marked as one side as 40 meter or whatever else. But in a hurry, the figure drawn by the student, it's not actually a square. So will you consider it as a square?
If one side, but sir, what you saw was the picture. The question makes it very clear. I'm not just going to show the picture. I just showed you two pictures and now the question is coming. I am not dependent on the picture for information.
Okay, but
Can you see
consider.
already the question is coming up. It's there on the screen, which makes it very clear. They
Yeah,
were
yeah,
shown,
that I agree with.
yeah.
But
But, no, sir.
lastly,
I understand what you are saying. What I'm saying, my question is not going to ever stop at showing two pictures and saying that this is, I mean, which one is a square or is this a square? I have added the information. My question is not complete as yet. I'm going step by step.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. In fact, the question hasn't come also as yet. Right now, I'm still in the process of giving information. My question is not here. All right. So I'm just saying there is a Green Valley school which is having a Grow Your Garden project. And there were two kids who were heading the project. They were shown two plots. All right. A square one and a rectangular one. All right.
Okay.
Now I'm going to ask the question.
Okay.
Their task was to fence the plots and make vegetable patches for kindergarten children to create interest in gardening. The cost of fencing is rupees 200 per meter. All right. Again, all this is information. No questions asked as yet. Only the information incoming. Remember communication? This is all incoming information the child has to read, decode, interpret. All right. Sanya chose the square plot and Arjun chose the rectangular one. Who do you think chose the better deal? Justify your answer. They've chosen their plots. They have to fence the plot. The cost of that is given. What they have chosen is given. Now, who do you think had a better deal? Because ultimately, what do they have to do? They have to make vegetable patches. Yes, both are the same with 160 perimeter. Both are same, but who get what? What is the ultimate aim of the question? What do they have to do? Grow more. Perfect. Yes. Who gets to grow more? Sania. Perfect. Absolutely. That is the correct thing. Who chose the better deal? It was Sania, because you see, they have to make a vegetable thing. And as you know, I mean, forget about being farmer. Even if you have a patch of garden in your place, you would like to grow as much as possible, whether it is flowers or herbs or whatever it is. You want to maximize your output. Okay. So if you want to maximize your output, what do you need? You need more area. All right. Now, fencing cost remains the same for both the students. But Sania chooses the one which for the same fencing cost gives her the bigger area. It's this, I mean, for say, whichever grade we are doing area and perimeter, so which I would say classes 4 to 5, maybe 5 or 6. Do you think this is a question which should make a child think? It's a thinking question. Exactly. Because don't just go by the perimeter. It is not, the perimeter is the same, but they are not getting the same thing. All right. This is something which because, there were becoming too many questions. This is, I had made a similar question, which was on pizza. All right. A square pizza and a round pizza. And which is more that you get for your money? Now, these kind of things are real life problems. Children go for pizza. And definitely we have nowadays, you have various kind of pizzas, square pizzas also, round, we already know. Pizza are even bought by slices. You can buy that also. So these are the kind of questions we can make up and ask our students and make them think. Just because the perimeters of the two plots are same, it doesn't mean that they are same. We need to go further and check. Moving on to the last question. All right, so you can see something out here, fort. Yes, of course, we can give a tape to measure classroom, desk, definitely. Those are experience. In fact, a desk is the best idea, because it's easier. A room might, because I'm talking not from, the activity point of view. That's a wonderful activity. It's just that sometimes teachers say that takes up a lot of time. Whereas, in measuring their own desk and the teacher's desk, because, our children sometimes looking at their own desk, even children of 9, 10 will not be able to tell you the measure in feet. They might say, oh, this is like, 3 feet or something, completely clueless. Now, this is real life thing. A writing table, generally the school table, what kind of, measurements would it normally, the estimation, very, very important in mathematics. Okay, coming back to this, it's a fort. Has anybody been to this fort? Recognizable? I don't see any answers. So I don't think anybody recognizes the fort. Okay. Anybody recognizes the state, which state it could be? That should be very easy. Not the state either. Acha, chalo. So I'm going to give you the information in that case. Here comes the information. So this is Jodhpur, Mehrangarh Fort. I got one answer, Rajasthan. All right. Yes, Swastika ma'am, Rajasthan, correct. It is Jodhpur in Rajasthan, and the name of the fort is Mehrangarh. No, it's not Jaipur, it's Jodhpur. Now look at this sign. Have you seen similar signs? I mean, I'm not talking about horse or elephant, but have you seen these kind of signs in front of, say, museums where you have different entry tickets for children and adults? Sometimes you have extra money to be paid for carrying a camera, tourist spots. Then sometimes you have a different ticket price for people who are foreigners, foreign passport holders. Is it a familiar thing? Is it a real life situation? Yes. So you can see, I have given this. You can make it into anything, anywhere that you are staying. Like, Abhi, recently I had gone to Ahmedabad and I saw this place called, it was a step well. I'm forgetting the exact name, or rather mispronouncing it probably. I think it was Adlan or something. And I saw a similar thing which had three categories: adult, children, and foreign passport holders. So I still have it in my phone and I'm going to make a question out of it. So now you can see the question what made out of it. All right. So the first day, they rode in normal hours and paid 1950 for ride. So let X be the number of horses hired and Y be the number of elephants. Find the number of horses and elephants that were hired by the friends. Anybody? Paper pencil ready? उसके बाद smileys देखेंगे. If you want further thing that each horse and each elephant carries one person. I do not want the solution. Can you just give me the yes? Let's see. Can we reduce it also? Now, since there are two variables, we need two equations. एक तो आ गया. Absolutely. X plus Y, horses and elephants taken together would be 25. And the other is 50x plus 100y, which is equal to 1950. And therefore, you can reduce it, divide the whole thing by 50, and you can reduce it. Yes, Pradeep sir, absolutely, you've got it. Okay, now solution aapka nikal jayega. See, this is the tough part, correct? This was incoming, and what was outgoing? Outgoing is what is there. X plus Y equal to 25, 50x plus 100y equal to 1950. So the part which is typed is incoming and this in blue is outgoing, right? This is what we are calling mathematization communication. Answers bhi nikal aaye. All right. And the answers here, the answers are here. Smileys देखे कुछ? कितने smileys हैं? Do excuse me for having a sip. My throat was getting dry. Rupsa ma'am, bigger smile. I like these, Deepika ma'am ka smile. Pura muh khol ke. All right. Now the next question, actually, this is not about solving. As experienced teachers, I want you to read the next question. Isi ka, it is an add-on question. Where do you think children might, keep in mind that the child has done the first part correctly, which means comprehension, incoming, ये सारा कुछ बच्चे को आता है. Next part में बच्चा अगर गलती करता है, where is the maximum chance of making mistake? Have a look. If a child mistakes, what is your thing ki most likely the mistake will happen here? Because as experienced teachers, we should understand what are the traps. Where is the point the child can make a mistake? Keeping in mind, A part the child has done correctly. B part, what calculation, Pradeep sir? Pehla wala calculation has been correct. So what calculation, where calculation the child may go wrong? Atindra sir, if the child, yes, Rupsha ma'am, exactly. Increase part, which means what do you think they might forget to do? Would you like to unmute yourself and answer, Rupsha ma'am? Tanu, see if.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
Rupsha ma'am, would you just explain the increase part? Because I think you have got it right. Is she there? Or maybe she's on YouTube.
No, ma'am, she's in the session only. I've asked her to unmute herself. Maybe there is some network issue or
Okay, fine. So I will, anybody else who has got it and who would like to explain? Okay, so let me just say now, as Rupsha ma'am said, increase part. What does the question ask? Calculate the increase in charges. Now, what happens? Children will find out in the peak period what the charges were. And har badahat may sometimes, because they are in a hurry or they are so eager to answer, it asks about increase, which means subtraction. From the higher part, they have to subtract the normal hour thing and give that increase. So they might forget to subtract, which means this is the increase, the difference between the fare during the normal hour. And yes, Lopa ma'am has got it correct. 2,500 is the increase. So this question was to see whether the child is reading and comprehending that what is being asked. Question is how much is the increase, which means you find out the charges during the peak period and calculate the increase by subtracting the normal hour thing. So we've done 3 questions. Is everybody clear about mathematization part? Can I have yes or no in the chat box? Did you find them real life? Do you think you can make some questions like this apne aap? It can be any situation. It could be a, going to the market, things that children buy. It could be a stationery shop. Children even go, we send them to buy things like bread, milk, these kind of things. I think almost every child does it. Okay, so some question which is revolving around this so that they can understand, they can relate to it. When we talk to children about buying things like buffaloes or house or population increase, they're such large numbers, children cannot get their heads around it. But when you bring in these kind of things, all right, they can relate to it. You can take some pictures, you'll find it on net, these kind of labels or, things, notice boards put up in front of museums and all these. If you people are in Delhi, you can find it in Delhi Heart. Delhi Heart, the, thing that you have, the ticketing counter, it is written there. All right, so you can take a picture and maybe make something like this. Okay, railway tickets you can have, or various kind of things, but real life ones. Okay, now we will move to our next competency, and that is representation. Now here, as you can see, this is representation. Out here, it is what? It is bar graph, with picture for very small kids. But you know why it helps? It makes the children understand they're able to read that thing, that how many dogs, kept very simple numbers, 5. How many more people like dogs and cats? What are we doing? We are bringing in the subtraction operation. Okay, we can have so many questions. How many people like dogs and cats? How many total people are there? Okay, which means dogs plus cats plus fish, all the people who have pets. So we can make various these kind. Now, pets may not be, not all children might be having pets. You can have things like favorite color. You can have things like candies, like, which chocolate do you like? Various kind of things.
সবকিছুরই সলিউশন থাকবে
Anybody asking something? Tanu, is somebody asking something?
No, ma'am. I think somebody is on unmute and probably they're talking. I'm just checking.
Yeah, please, if everybody, unless you have to ask, please kindly mute yourself because it is disturbing for the other participants also. Thank you. Moving on to, now this question, I would like you to think about it. Now see, again, I am giving you first the information. So there are these two people, Shagun and Manpreet. They went for a 40-kilometer bicycle race. Their coaches plotted the graphs of their race. All right. Here are the graphs. Now there's only one thing which you can see here. It should actually start from 0, but I guess, when you think of Usain Bolt, the way he starts off in a sprint, like as they advertise in car, that you start and it goes to from 0 to 100 kilometers. So I guess the coaches plotted it like that. But here are the two graphs, okay? One blue and one red, as you can see. Now the questions will come. This is a slightly case study kind of question. Manpreet said, I started the race quickly. Which one is Manpreet's graph? You can write the answer blue or red in the chat box. Oh, Jyoti ma'am, you were there in Hyderabad and you are, all right, you're attending here again. So nice. Don't worry, I have some other questions also. So hopefully you will not be completely bored. Shubhasri ma'am, why do you say red? Look at this. I started the race quickly. Look at the x-axis. Whose speed is higher? Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. Thank you. Look at the graphs carefully. Where is the speed given? Which axis? Blue, correct. And whose is higher? Where is Manpreet? Which one is higher? One is above 20, one is below 20. Correct. So Manpreet started the race quickly and therefore the blue one is higher. Therefore, Manpreet is the one with the blue graph. All right, let's move on to the next question. There was a big uphill climb halfway through the race. Which graph is incorrect and why? Two different coaches have plotted the graph. There was a big uphill climb halfway through the race. You can see that. Which one is wrong? Okay, Jyoti ma'am, would you like to answer since you have been there? May I invite you? Jyoti ma'am, are you there? Yes. Would you like to unmute yourself and give the correct?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, the graph uphill shows the second one that is in red, but this shows the blue one shows the depression.
Yes. So which one is wrong?
The blue one is wrong.
The blue one is wrong? Aha, Vahini ma'am, the first one who has said red. Yes, exactly, Swastika ma'am. Vahini ma'am gave the first answer and Swastika ma'am has given the reason. A big hand, please put thumbs up for these two people because they have got it right. Now think of it. Vahini ma'am said that the red one is incorrect and Swastika ma'am gave the reason for it because when you are climbing uphill, how can your speed go up? How many of you cycle? All the participants who are here, who all do cycling? Normal cycling. Pradeep sir says yes. So when you climb uphill, sir, does your speed go up or go down? Down. So now tell me which graph is correct, or rather which graph is incorrect. Is red incorrect or blue incorrect? The red is incorrect. See, why I chose this? Because this is a very interesting representative question. Our brain is overtaken by our visual information. All right? Because visually, the moment we read uphill and we see uphill, we immediately think the red one is correct. But the information is different, which our brain is not taking in, that when I go uphill, my speed is going to go down. So therefore, the blue one is correct and the red one is incorrect. Is it clear to everybody? Did you find it interesting? How many people found this interesting question? That it made you think. Okay. And the last one, which is very simple. Who said I slowed down for the last 5 kilometers, but I did a sprint finish? What is the meaning of a sprint finish? Going very fast, right? Which is the sprint finish in sprint race in athletics? Can anybody tell me? Which race? Yes, correct, Pradeep sir. 100 meters is called the sprint race because it is all about speed, not stamina. How fast you can go. So who did a sprint finish out of these two? Manpreet or Shagun? Yes, Aparna ma'am, you are correct. Blue, and the blue one is Manpreet. Very good. All right. Now we will move on to the next one. Reasoning and argument. All right, the third one. So reasoning and argument, I've taken quite a few questions. All right, strategy, I've taken a few less because, time again. Now here, this, as you can see, there are no numbers here. All right, you have, wait, let me give you the information about this question. There are 11 different types of shapes and they stand for the numbers 0 to 12. All right. So 0 to 12, does that, how many numbers are there from 0 to 12? Can you please write? Exactly, Pradeep sir, 13 numbers are there. Numbers are 13, shapes are 11. This reminds me of the Sholay movie dialogue, kitne aadmi the, that kind of thing. All right. So 2 numbers will be missing. All right. Each shape has a different number. Can you work out what they are? I'll give you a little bit of time. Anybody? Ekat shape, kuch bhi? Please remember, the maximum you can go is 12 and the minimum is 0. Acha, let me give you a hint. मैं first वाले से start करती हूँ. So the first one, which is, as I can see it on my screen, they are 3 purple squares, or yeah, I'm giving a clue. It's a cube number, right? Let's take it as x into x into x, which is equal to the yellow semicircle. Which number is a cube in 0 to 12? Yes. So what about the semicircle? 8. Swastika ma'am, correct. So now what about that orange oval? 4. Lovely. Yes. Now can you figure out? What about the blue rectangle? Are you sure the blue rectangle is... Blue rectangle is 3. So what about the green star? If the blue rectangle is 3, how much is the green star? Correct, 9. So we've got 2, 4, 3, 9. All right. So what about the red circle? 18 to ho nahi sakta. We have numbers only till 12. Yes, correct. Red triangle is 0. Why? Because whatever you multiply it with, you get the same thing back and it is 0. All right, red triangle bhi aa gaya. What about that rhombus? Yellow rhombus. In the second column, yes, the yellow rhombus is 1. Sare nikal gaye? Anything else left? I think we've done all of them. Hexagon. हाँ, हेक्सागन का देखते हैं. All right. So there is 2 into that star is equal to hexagon. What can it be? 5. So therefore the hexagon is 10. Green star is 9. Correct. All right. So I think we've all got it done. Now tell me, what did you use? Did you use reasoning and logical argument? Calculation was very less, right? We were dealing with numbers 0 to 12. But how did you get the 11 shapes? What did you use? You used logic. You used reasoning. And that is what is important, We try to teach our children how to add two 7-digit numbers. I mean, can you think how boring is that? Why would we want to do that? If a child can add two 3-digit numbers correctly, then don't you think the child can also add two 7 or 10-digit numbers correctly? Because is there any difference between the concept? Whether it's 3-digit numbers, whether it is 5-digit numbers, whether it is 25-digit number, addition will be the same. Subtraction will be the same concept. So in that case, why do we torture our children by giving such large numbers, which in real life, right now, if we use things like we want to buy some jewelry, maybe which is in lakhs, or property which is in crores, are we going to sit with a paper and pencil? We don't. A child does not deal in jewelry. That's not a real life thing for the child, buying jewelry or buying property. No, it's not. What would be the child used to? The child would be used to, things like, say, a cricket bat, which might be in thousands or hundreds, maybe sports shoes, which can be in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Maybe, older children would be interested in cell phones, different kind of cell phone, 5-digit numbers, or sometimes if it's Apple or something, 6-digit numbers, or maybe laptops. Those are the numbers, and that too, if they are 6-digit numbers or something, sometimes they would use calculator. But no, I saw a worksheet somewhere. It had about 30 problems, and 30 problems of adding 6 to 7-digit numbers. I would call that a torture. This is what creates a phobia of mathematics, because not only one mistake, you get a cross. Secondly, it is so utterly boring. Tell me, when you did this question, did you find it interesting? Did you have fun? Was this question interesting for you? So if it was interesting for you, do you think children will also have fun? Because not only about the logic, reasoning, the shapes, the color, and all these visual attractiveness that makes it attractive for children also, because these things do matter. Yeah? Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So this is of slightly higher level, where we are going to use formula. But again, everything is done not only with formula, but can I just mute myself? I'm sorry, I'm getting an important call. Kindly just... Hello? 1 second, please. Just 1 second. Finley, take the phone, OTP. OTP. Now, it's called. I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right. So here's your information. We have 4 unknown numbers. The mean of the first 2 numbers is 4. What would be the sum of the first 2 numbers? Yes, correct. All right. So we know the mean of the first 2 numbers is 4. The mean of the first 3 numbers is 9. What's the sum of that? 27. So how much is the third number? Now can you work out all? And if I were to do it step by step, I would have A, B, C, and D. Okay. And I'm using logic and the information given that A plus B is equal to 8. Can I have smileys? All the people who got it correct, can we have some smileys? I can see correct. Aparna ma'am, Manushwa ma'am. Yeah, there. That's it. Lovely. Okay, this time Ruksha ma'am has a lovely big huge smile. Thank you for that. All right, let's move on now. Okay, this is again one of my favorite questions. So we have a mystery number. It's a 3-digit number, which is between 400 and 800. The sum of the digits add up to 15. The tens digit is twice the hundreds digit. And what number am I? All right. So it is between 400 and 800. All right. So can my hundreds digit be 1, 2, or 3? Yes or no? Can my hundreds digit be 1, 2, or 3? No, it can't be. All right. Tell me, can my hundreds digit be 5? Yes. Are you sure? Look at the third clue. Can somebody tell me why no? Why can't my hundreds digit not be 5 or more? Why not? Aparna ma'am is correct. Jacqueline ma'am is correct. It cannot be twice of something because it will become double digit, right? Okay. No, it cannot be 3, Ajita ma'am, because it is between 400 and 800. So that means my hundreds digit is 4. It can't be 1, 2, 3. It can't be 5 or more. So it has to be 4. Yes. That is who did 483. I just saw somebody before Jacqueline ma'am who had written 483. I think it is Vikram sir. Shubhashri ma'am. Yes. So your answer is 483. 4 because the number is between 400 and 800. The hundreds digit is twice the, the tens digit is twice the 100 digits. So 4 into 2, 8. And the total is 15. So 4 plus 8, 12. It is 3. Complete logic and reasoning. Okay. Now we come to the fourth one, which is strategic thinking, selecting and implementing a mathematical strategy. All right. Now here I'd like you to do, this is also something Jyoti ma'am would have seen because I had done it in Hyderabad. So I am not interested in the answer. I would like to know, how did you find it? What was your method? So if anybody wants to unmute and answer, Tanu, please help, or they can write it in the chat box. What is the method they did?
Anyone who wants to unmute can just unmute themselves, or you can let me know. I'll unmute you
Yes,
and you
ma'am.
can.
Actually, we can use the distributive property of multiplication for the middle school students and the senior students, just like
Yes, sir.
17
Which
can be written-
one? So you would split? Yeah,
anything.
okay. So this is the foil method which Anusua ma'am has. She split both the numbers.
Yes,
10
we can
plus
split
6,
both.
7.
Or 75 can be written 70 plus 5, or 16 can be written 20 minus 4. In
Yeah,
that
like
way, we can
Subhashri
split.
ma'am has written it as 80 minus 5.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Aparna ma'am has split it further. All right, sir, no problem. Hope you enjoyed this portion of it. Maybe
So
some other time.
basically, we are using the distributive property.
All right. Okay, so that is one strategy. I will tell you the one which I use. Normally in this case, because one of the numbers is even, what I tend to do is I double and half. They go together, which means I half 16, which is 8, and I double 75, which is 150. Then I half 8 to 4, and I double 150 to 300, and I get direct 1200. Thank you, Pradeep sir. All the best. Take care. Okay, so do you see how different strategies we have? Like somebody made the foil method, breaking apart 2. Even with breaking apart 75, somebody did 70 plus 5, somebody did 80 minus 5, somebody did 10 plus 6 into 75. I did the doubling and halving method. These are all various strategies to use. It is not that 75, 16, and then you do the column method. No. This is called flexibility, competency, where you can use anything and you can make it simpler. You can do it orally. All right. Imagine instead of a 2-digit number, if it were 2 3-digit numbers, then if you were to do it column wise, you would probably need a paper and pen, right? Whereas if you do it, use these various kind of strategies, in that case, it becomes simpler. But what do you have to know? You have to understand the concept of mathematical, these splitting up, distributive law, doubling, halving. These concepts have to be very clear in your mind, right? Okay. Let me do another one and then we'll move on to, like, suppose if I give this, can you do this orally in a second or so? 10 seconds. I want honest answers. Please don't use pen paper. Now, this for me is a very irritating problem. I mean, who wants to do this? And if I have a phone, if I have a calculator, I mean, why do I even need to do this? But I can use a strategy. All right. What happens if what is subtraction? Subtraction means the difference between two numbers. So if I shift the numbers, yes, Aparna ma'am has got it right. If I shift the numbers, okay, I will just like we shift origin or something. Instead of 10,000, I took away 1, and similarly, I took away 1 from what is to be subtracted. Yes, correct. And you get your answers. What was this? Just a strategy. Strategy which made my life easy. All right. So therefore, this is what we call as strategic thinking. I just used it for arithmetic, but again, as you understand, strategy can be in any area of life, any area of mathematics. Okay. Everything is not suitable everywhere. The competency lies in choosing the correct strategy for that particular situation. Okay. And lastly, we come to communication. Reading and interpreting mathematical statements, explanation and presentation of the same. Now here I have quite a few questions here, that the various ways we can communicate in mathematics. Because you see, mathematics has a language of its own. The vocabulary may be small, compared to any other language like English or Hindi or Bengali, any other language. We have less words, our vocabulary is less, but it I would say in a way that, it is very precise. So so this is going to be a multiple choice question. Sonam has 30 balloons and she shares them equally between 5 children. Each child gets 6 balloons. Now I'm going to give you the options. Which is the correct way to describe this story mathematically? A, B, C, or D? Yes. How many times you find that children, when you say, even in class 6 of middle school, you say subtract A from B and children write A minus B? Have you come across this kind of a mistake? Yeah. What is happening? They are not able to comprehend and communicate. So when the child writes 30, so just see, as I said, the vocabulary is less in mathematics, but very precise. Or we get 6 balloon, it is divided between 5. All these 3 lines we have summarized in part C. 30 divided by 5 is equal to 6. Aparna ma'am, correct algebra. I have taken up a few questions of algebra, especially when we introduce algebra and we talk about equations, LHS and RHS being equal, all these kind of things. That is something I have taken up in some of the next questions. I'll show you. Okay, one sec. Let's do the first one. It's showing. Now, if you look at the first question, one second. If you look at the first question, I have 18. It's kind of a balance beam. You can see that this line is straight. What does this indicate? What does this indicate between the two things? Are the two sides equal? Exactly. Equality, balance. Balanced means equality. All right. So 18 on two sides, it is equal. So how much is each side? The total of each side. How much is this side? And how much is this side? They have to be equal. Yes, correct. They are 9 each. Now here you actually don't even need a thing. Now these are 3 equal. So how much is that half moon? It is 3. You are given that the triangle is 5. So therefore your hexagon is exactly. Don't you think this is a linear equation in 3 variables? Well, actually, I would say 2 because the red triangle is given. But otherwise, it is a linear equation. If that red triangle was not given, we could work it out. It's not necessary that it is going to be, if we had equal things there, then it could be also 2, 2, 2, and therefore the triangle could be 1, right? Okay, let's now go on to the second one. Now out here, there are double steps. It's a bit more complex. So we have 80, and again, this line is straight, which shows equality, which means how much are the two sides? Each side is 40, correct, Shubhashri ma'am? All right. So if this is 40, now let's look at this. Again, we have that this line is straight and these two sides, which means equality. Okay, so our blue rectangle is 20. Very good. What about the red hexagon? 10. And what about the half moon, the green? How much would that be? The green color, how much is this? Yes, correct, 30. Now you can, just for your thing, I don't want to say it, but you can take time, transfer it into algebraic language. Like you could have these various, now again, if you see that these are various kind of variables, but first tell me something. Did you find this interesting? Did it kind of, when you saw this, did you look at it as the puzzle? Or did you think algebra? Is it a puzzle to solve? Or ye also agrees? So if it is puzzle, do you think children, because we know that a lot of students are scared of, there is a maths phobia. Why children, adults? Have you heard, your friends or colleagues saying, I hate maths or I don't like maths? Adults within your thing. Jacqueline ma'am says yes. So see, these people are adults. In fact, younger children will never go and, tell the teacher, I don't like maths. They may keep quiet. But it's the adults who will come and say that, God, I hated maths or I'm still maths. Parents come and tell you in PTM, हमें तो maths नहीं आता. We don't know maths. All right. So when you look at these kind of thing, if there is a child who is not comfortable with numbers, do you think these kind of questions help somewhat in reducing the fear, making it interesting? Yeah. Okay. So we will go to one last one here. All right. So here's your question. Ultimately, you will have to find the values of these different colored circles. And then we are going to translate it into algebraic language. So first, I would want the answers. The red circle, the green circle, and the blue circle. Okay, blue is 7. Yes, blue is 7, correct. What else do we get? What about the red one? Yes, red is 5. So therefore, then we are left with 3 because the total is 15. So we have 7 and 5. Yeah, exactly. Now, what we are going to do, so you can do this question. Do you think children will be able to do this? Say when you are just introducing algebra. Do you think a class 6, in fact, I personally have made even class 4, 5 children do it, arts pass ke thing. But do you think a class 6 child would be able to do it? Average child, they can figure this out? Yes or no? No, maybe not all, but maybe with a bit of guidance. Okay. Now what you can say is, now look at, once they have done this, they have solved it with or without guidance, maybe 2-3 of them. Yes, of course. There are so many picture equations you will find in the internet, very cute ones with owls and things. And in the end, they have a bottomless question. So what you can do it, if you want to make it less complex, take away snip out the bottomless part. Just have those, 2 owls equal to, or 3 owls equal to 27, and owl plus a monkey equal to this. And, it's great fun. Yeah, and it can be done in trial and error method also. So now coming back to this question, once they have done this question, maybe 1 or 2 more similar kind of thing, when they are feeling a bit confident, now you make them do this, that can you write this? So I'm now turning into totally algebra. Okay. A plus B is equal to 8, A plus B plus C is equal to 15, B plus C is equal to 10. Okay, so what have I done? Now it is once the fear goes off, all right, then you start introducing the variables. Or maybe give them as an exercise, give them 2-3 of similar questions once you've done a few in the class. They should have enough practice. And the homework could be that now can you write these as algebraic variables? Yes, they might, but that is where the teacher intervenes. See, this is not like a class where you will not be around, just, chala diya, you have switched on the thing and it'll keep on moving. The moment as children are doing it, obviously you will be taking around. I mean, I would hope so. Okay, so if you do that, when you see a child doing it, you can always kind of step in and intervene there. Anusua ma'am, Google search for picture equations. You can just, go to the Google bar, write picture equations, and go to, once that opens up, go to images. I'm telling you, you will get hundreds of them. All right. If I had time, then I would have put some more, but already we are kind of reaching the end of the thing. So therefore, what I'm talking about here is when we start building competency, obviously we start from the foundation level. So I've been mainly talking about foundation level things, which, as I said right in the beginning, you can customize it according to your needs. Like you want to make it more complex, you can have maybe 3 balls, 3 green balls, 1 red ball and 3 green balls, and make the equation like that. You can make your own equations. These are very easy to make. Once you see those pictures up, and I love, doing cutting, pasting, snipping. In fact, your creativity, when we talk about Bloom's taxonomy, when we talk about creative thing, you can even ask your children to bring some, and they will solve it first, and then you can kind of exchange. Jisne jo question laye hai, you can exchange them within the other students, and just imagine how much resources or questions you would have, and not to talk about the fun. Would you agree with that? So ultimately, I come to the last one where I have tried to put in with this a bit of art integration. A lot of people, I mean, since this is about competency things, this is again competency of representation. But look at the designs. They are so pretty. See, here's no talk. I've given you 2 designs. All right, you can see. And there are 5 options. Which one will be the correct option? Swastika ma'am is immediately off the block. She's got it right. So let me give you another one. And after that, what about this one? Which one will this be? So tell me, we have spent more than 1.5 hours, I think about 1.5 hours together. Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? Because you've been, to sit and hear somebody go bug for almost 2 hours cannot always be a very nice thing. It can be quite boring or something. But my main thing is, did any learning happen? Did you get some ideas which you can try in your class? Because that is what makes it a success. If you got some ideas which you can do in your class, that is the biggest thing that, we can say that, yes, this webinar worked because people got new ideas to try out. Thank you, Anushka ma'am. That's very kind of you. So we are about to reach the end. So I'll just come to this last thing. When all of you are aware of NEP 2020 and the NCF, which is following from that. So all of you who are aware of NEP, this is what NEP talks about. What kind of students, people do we need? Critical thinker, who's a problem solver. Communicator, understanding and communicating ideas. Collaborator, working with others, makes a 21st century learner. So are we going to be 21st century learners? I want chat box में yes or no or smileys or thumbs up. Subset. Are we going to make our students 21st century learners? Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all so much. So now what I'm going to, yeah.
Ma'am, regarding Namrata ma'am's question,
Yeah. So I was just coming to that I'll stop sharing. Okay. And now I will take any questions or anything that people have. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you all so much. I will now stop sharing. And now, you can direct your questions to Tanu or anybody, and I will take the questions. All right. So I'm stopping the share. Okay. So here I am back. And yeah, ready for questions.
Ma'am, your voice is cracking and the screen is freezed. I think there is some network issue.
I'll try my best. Can you do it from your side? Because otherwise it would show that my network is not stable. What about others? I mean, any problem? No,
ma'am, now
Jacqueline
it's
ma'am
fine.
says clear.
Yeah, now
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Your voice is cracking.
now it's clear, ma'am. Now it's good.
It's clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, ma'am, it's clear now.
Okay, fine. So I'll just repeat what I gathered from your question was that when you have 40 students in a class, how can you have differentiated learning? Was that the question?
Yes, ma'am. The question was how to cater to individual issues of word problems, especially in a class of approx 40 students. That was Namrata ma'am's question.
Okay. So I have a question here just to get it clear. Namrata ma'am, if you could explain what do you mean by individual issues? Like, can you give me an example? Is she there, Namrata ma'am?
I think she has left the meeting.
Okay, I will take it in a broad way because I'm not very clear about this. Now, there are certain things which I have sometimes tried, and I've recommended others to try, and it has worked for quite a few of them. Number one is when you give a question, a word problem. All right. In fact, I would ask you to make a worksheet on it. Don't take too many questions. I never believe in too much work because it just becomes boring and tiring for children. They have little attention span. So let's not waste that. So you take 2 to 3 questions, just put the questions. All right. Suppose you take 3 questions and don't take the book questions, they can come later. Take from somewhere else. You have thousands of maths book around. And after each question, leave a blank. All right. Where they have to write the information. What is given? Like suppose the question is like, let's say, Rahul has 37 marbles. I'm taking a very elementary kind of question. Rahul has 37 marbles. He buys 43 more. He loses 22. And then he gives 19 to his sister. How many marbles does Rahul have left? Okay, so there are 4 numbers here. So what you can make in the question form, the first is, how many marbles does Rahul have in the beginning? How many does he buy? The child has to fill up. How many does he lose? How many does he give to his sister? What are the operations? They just have to write plus or minus required at each stage. Yes, given that. Okay. Because the moment a child is able to write these 4 things correctly, or whatever question, whatever information, what have you understood as a teacher? That the comprehension, remember that incoming thing, incoming communication, that is correct. Because what happens in word gets stuck. They are not able to understand what is the question asking, what is the information given. That is why you have to put this in. So this is something you can do. And as homework or something, what you can do is from the textbook. They don't have to solve the question. For maybe 3 or 4 questions, whichever you can tick mark or you can assign, that they have to write these. Solution is to be done in class, because once you have understood, comprehended, and written this information, the solution can be done as classwork. Do you think you can make it work? Is that possible? I'm sorry, I don't have the attendance link. I think Tanu will share it. Tanu, will you be sharing it? Hello? Tanu, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so somebody's asking about the attendance link.
Ma'am, since this is a all India webinar, there is
Hmm.
no such feedback or attendance link is there. Nothing
Okay,
like that.
fine. So you can announce that. So any more questions?
Any more questions for ma'am? Anything related to mathematics or anything? Ma'am, somebody from the audience was asking about the maths groups.
What maths group?
Ma'am, I'll just check. Just give me a minute. Ajita ma'am was asking about some ideas about mathematics clubs.
Yes, I think most schools do have a mathematics club where you can use, I can suggest some sites like if it's younger classes, then there is Toy Theater, and these are free. Then you have, of course, Enrich, which have various solved and unsolved problems from starting from primary going up to college level. Again, free source. So all these kind of things you can use, take up questions or various activities from there and use it for, I'll just write it down for you. One second. I want to write to everybody. I should put it in meeting group chat, right, Tanu?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is the Cambridge University website, which is free, and I find it wonderful. Please check this out. Enrich. Okay, so you can use the activities there in Maths Club. Otherwise, as I said, that you have various things like these picture equations. Then you can have various kinds of tangram things to make jigsaw puzzles. I recently, yesterday, I was in a school and I did that with teachers, and they found it very interesting. So you
Ma'am,
can.
your message is not received here. We are unable to see it.
One sec. Got it?
Enrich. Yes, ma'am. Now it's
Yeah.
visible.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
ma'am, we have
So
one more
that is,
question from Saurabh sir. How to
yeah.
teach geometry? He is asking about some of the like ideas or your opinion about how to teach geometry.
This is Saurabh sir. Unable to apply during questions. You know, sir, I feel it is because this is my personal opinion, of course. A lot of our children are very weak in language writing. You will find uh, 1 hour question paper of maths and they'll say so lengthy. They're not used to writing, and also they are not able to verbalize, as you said, concept samajh aa gaya. But how to write it down step by step according to things. So here I would again kind of ask you, maybe you can make a worksheet for 2-3 questions, especially the questions you find tough, where what they can do 2 ways, like either you give like your question is prove this line is parallel to that line or something like that. So you give angle A equal to angle this, and then you put a dash, they will have to put a reason. So and so is equal to this dash, they have to put a reason. This kind of thing. And then ulta, where you give the reason, but they'll have to put the correct thing. Once they are used to doing this, then you ask them for the simpler questions to follow the same kind of format themselves and practice it. I mean, this is something, it's not one size suits solve. So it is just a suggestion from my part that you could try this.
Yeah.
Geometry writing always has been a problem, and also the biggest problem is, sir, that they tend to memorize the proofs of the riders and theorems. Instead of understanding and solving, because most of the time we teachers ourselves solve the questions on the blackboard unless they are numerical questions, and they just copy it down. And just like they read books and memorize poems, they do that with geometry. So that creates a big problem. I think a lot of people are unmuted because I can hear voices. So I think, shall we end it here, Tanu? Are we done?
Hello. Yeah. Anybody is having any other questions? And regarding the e-certificate, Swastika ma'am and Saurabh sir and all the other teachers, share the email ID in the chat box. You can just email us your
క్వశ్చన్స్ వాళ్ళు చేస్తారా అన్ని నోట్ క్వశ్చన్ 5 అయిపోయి మనం అరెస్ట్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాం.
Tanu, I think you mute them.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I muted them. So yeah. So I was saying I have shared the email ID info@kips.in. So you can simply email us your details regarding the attendance and the e-certificates. And apart from that, if there are no other questions, then we can wind up the session. Okay, I think ma'am, we are good to